Alrighty then, it's time for a Jungle Trundle game. Let's get this show on the road. Which one? Yeah, it's a new jungle. Finally, Stonewall, you've been pretty late on this. So, either way, most of just kind of didn't really want to play the new jungle, but now I am. And I gotta say, as I've been repeating myself over and over, the jungle diversity is pretty squelched, but thankfully not all of my junglers are out of commission. A lot of the ones I tend to use, like Zinzao and Trundle, are pretty strong right now, but most of my tanks, including Jarvan, are in the dumpster because they can't really deal with other junglers. By the way, getting long sword early on just allows me to demolish the Scuttle, and if I was a little bit faster, or if I still have my smite, maybe I would have been able to still grave the Scuttle here, and it would have been amazing. Instead, I'll settle for his life, just tagging him with red buff, and Echo shows up in time to destroy him, so we get 2 kills early on. That's a pretty big deal. And then, after your first clear and your first Scuttle, aside from having to hunt down the Scuttle respawns, it's pretty much the same as before. Yeah, so it's whatever. But I will say the new jungle is stressful as fuck. It's like, if you fall behind a bit, you can fall behind tremendously. If you can't gain control of the Scuttle because you or your teammates just aren't there, it's a big burden. Here we intercept Graves at his Scuttle, but the enemy bottom laner, so I believe he shows up right now, and we're a little bit scattered, and I was getting a little bit too courageous against the Graves, and I ended up getting myself trapped in between 4 people and getting killed. Pretty bad. Kled shows up, doesn't get to do very much, but he's going to be able to control the Scuttle and kill it himself, so at the very least the enemy team didn't get that. I also got to say that after a certain point, Scuttle control doesn't really matter, and you can switch to your to Dragon and whatnot. And this game did become very control jungle heavy, invasions and that kind of stuff. I don't know how to really feel about it because on one hand, there is a ton of stuff to do. Honestly, the jungle has become very active. Although the problem with that activeness is that it's very streamlined or very linear. You have to do certain things as a jungler now. And in the past, you had flexibility. Do you want to invade? Do you want to control? Do you want to, farm? You had that. But now you kind of have to always fight for the Scuttle Crab. You always have to take a certain kind of pathing, lean yourself towards this, watch the respawn. So while you have a lot of stuff to do, it's kind of the same stuff to do every single time in almost the same kind of ways. You get me? So I don't know how to feel about that. I was very tense while I was playing these games. Honestly, I was like, how to put it? I was adrenalized in a good and a bad way. I was like very hyped up because I had to, invade, I had to fight, and that stuff's kind of fun. There have been games in the past, both games are both junglers are very passive, and therefore it's really, vanilla and nothing happens. But these changes have made it so you constantly have to butt heads with your opponents, for better or worse. But if you fall behind or if you lose because somebody decided not to engage with you, or they decided to retreat and left you to die even though you could have won the team fights, then you get behind and you tilt and you tilt and you get more stressed out. So it's like a good kind of thing but a bad kind of thing in so many ways. So in that case, in that matter, tell me what you think about that in the comments below, because after playing with the new jungle a little bit, I don't hate it as much. It's still bad, but there are positives to it which are pretty honestly enjoyable. It's just, your enjoyment's I don't know how much I'm going to enjoy it if I am forced to play the same damn champions all the time and do the same things every single time, right? I'm by nature a very controlled kind of jungler dude, so this kind of stuff really suits me and I get to play super aggressively. So, I'm feeling kind of right at home right now. Every single game that I'm going to upload with a new jungle that I've played, you'll see that the control jungle nature is still alive in me. Or, the ganker kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's a jungle meant for me, but without the whole flexibility I'm used to. So whether or not I get used to it or and end up really liking it is still up in the air. My gut says probably not, so hopefully they're still coming up with more changes. As you can see, the jungle, or at least the whole game as a whole, due to the jungle changes or due to the fact that everyone kind of has to move about, or else, you know, the enemy team can get quite a considerable lead, has made the game go really fast. Every single game I've played with this new jungle, the games are way faster, sort of. I mean, the early game is faster, and then maybe mid-game slows down a bit, and one game it definitely did slow down. And then later on, it's just sort of like before. So I guess, if anything, the early game became more eventful, or more guaranteed eventful. I don't just sometimes invade them and get away with it, or they avoid me. They kind of have to confront me, so by that nature, it just became a little bit more lethal. And again, whether or not that's a good thing is still, you know, we'll see that. We'll see how the pros break it. I mean, currently there are other problems with the game, right? I've you know, banner of command spam. I haven't really seen it in all my games. Players still haven't sort of figured that out. You know, banner of command, certain champion imbalances, obviously. And of course, the jungle diversity being lackluster. Also, I do want to point out the kind of build I went in this game, because it is very much tailored to deal with the enemy team. Note that my magic resistance is in the dumps, so I'm very afraid of Vladimir just nuking me to hell. But my general idea for this build was Tiamat, and then just leave it at Tiamat, maybe get Titanic way later into the game. Obviously get Cinderhulk, but I'm rushing Iceborne Gauntlet, Frosty Glove, or whatever you want to call it. The reason for that is because the only one that's kind of a threat right now is Talon, because he's big, but it was also mostly to deal with Graves. If I tag someone with a slow, and I use my wall properly, and that's why cooldown reduction from it is pretty important, I'm able to at least control their lack of mobility. Graves only has mobility when he's able to shoot somebody at his short range, and Talon only really has mobility once, and that's kind of it. So the general idea is I become this big old brute force in between my team, so if they try to go through me, I slow them down and beat them to death, so my team can just sort of walk over them when they finally actually get through. And of course, the huge armor, or at least focusing on armor and health, is going to make it so the rest of the enemy team can't tickle me except Vladimir. So yeah, you'll see now that I've upgraded to Iceborne Gauntlet, you'll see what I mean by the whole control-y aspect. If what's his face, if Talon walks through me, or if I bite him before he uses his ultimate, then he might not have the mobility to, you know, position himself properly to either do the maximum amount of damage or survive after he deals that said damage. So that's the build logic at the very least. And of course, just generally being a bruisery / tanky kind of character is my go-to as Chondo. It's my honestly cookie cutter build. So yeah, Ninja Tabai, of course. But the rest of my team is kind of floundering. My top laner is feeding quite a bit. If you could see the chat, the amount of raging going in between them is pretty considerable. Even if I activated chat, you'd only see all chat, so you wouldn't see, you know, my teammates bashing each other. But anyways, it's overall kind of an even game with some obvious, you know, outliers of who's really big. I'm really big on my team, and the enemy Talon is big on his team. But problem for Talon is that eventually he's not going to be as strong, so we just kind of have to gridlock this game. I also got to mention this point is pretty funny. You saw that Talon basically didn't do any damage, and that's what I was going for here. I run in there and I almost die, and I don't know what the hell this Graves was thinking. He goes in mad dashing, and you know, I was way too far away for him to even do any damage. Maybe he was trying to use his ultimate on me, but he kind of died for free. So technically that gank of mine worked, quote unquote. Either way, go home, buy a Giant's Belt. I believe I was working towards Dead Man's Plate, and with that, it's just to, you know, to get myself that initial bite damage and a little bit of extra mobility in there. Honestly, I should have probably bought more cooldown reduction, and just got maximized that early and used my walls to the best effect. But you know, I kind of streamlined myself through, or kind of beeline to making myself as unkillable as possible, except against the Vladimir, which you can actually see him do quite a bit of damage during some of the fights if I'm not positioned properly to dodge his ultimate. Anyways, again, this game is super even, and it's unfortunately because a few of my teammates are overestimating the amount of damage they can do. And I forgot to mention quite a bit ago that my Rift Herald was terrible. But anyways, here I fight Talon, and as you can see, once I pop my ultimate and I just start bashing them, they don't do any real damage to me. And I basically took Talon out of the fight here. And nothing really comes of it, though. It's kind of sad. But yeah, right now, my team is on the defensive because again, the team chat is really bad. I turn around and bite Graves in the face because he got a little too aggressive, and this fight is super uncoordinated. But thankfully, an Echo W did quite a bit of damage, and now we're chasing him down, and Jin guns him down by shooting him in the spine. But yeah, if anything, this team fight, for however incredibly messy it was, showcased that once we pass mid game, once we get more items, the enemy team has absolutely no chance. Their team comp isn't that great, and honestly, the builds my team were taking were pretty good for the most part. I don't know about Echoes, but I haven't seen or played Echo in quite a while. But yeah, so yeah, at this point we're just kind of steamrolling them, and if it wasn't for a little bit of weird arrogance and team infighting, we wouldn't be getting any deaths every now and then. So yeah, now going for the Baron protection, just sort of keeping my eye on it, but they're going for Dragon instead. At this point, Scuttle's not really worth anything, but killing it just when it's there, stealing the enemy blue, and my bottom laners or my teammates just decide to throw their lives away. Or at least Jin does, and that allows the enemy team to push down bottom lane. Basically, no, we can't really engage on them because it's a Vladimir and there's a Janna, and then Rakan dies, and then we're forced to back a bit more. In the meanwhile, Kled is pushing top lane, which is a pretty good thing because I believe they send somebody to protect it, and then he recalls back and he's going to pop his ultimate. You can see that Graves, with pretty much a lot of damage, was able to basically do nothing. I go in there, I get again, what's his face? Vladimir's the only real threat to me, and you saw him chunk me down quite a bit. But if they burned quite a bit just trying to do anything to me, and it didn't really amount to very much. Though of course we weren't able to take advantage of them burning a lot of abilities. Just sort of waiting for the rest of the homies to be back up. So we try to engage, they disperse. Once again, the Graves does the weird thing of focusing me, even though he basically tickles me. And the fight goes in a really lackluster way, mostly because we were not all in the best position to be able to actually use or utilize our damage properly, and the enemy team were able to scatter off. But as you can see, even as a kind of broken, clunky team of mine, we're kind of showcasing that our builds are starting to come into full effect. I need some magic resistance, so you can see me building Spirit Visage to obviously take advantage of the cooldown reduction that I should have, again, probably purchased earlier. And of course, just to finally, slap Vlad in the face. But yeah, Talon goes really gung-ho for my Jin and gets himself trapped by the Rakan, which then turns, it just kind of gets Graves killed. I don't even remember where Talon ran off to. But poor Graves was just innocent bystander. I catch Janna, and this is a big deal because my wall slow at this point is grievous, and I got my little frozen fist bite, and then she just gets knocked out. So 2 kills, 1 kill just because he had just in the area, and Janna was a very unfortunate death on the enemy team. This basically opens up Baron for the steal. The enemy team tries to do something there, but they don't really have anything, and it's just going to be a very slow catch. You can see, Vladimir has no chance of escaping once I pop my ultimate and my E, and I tag him with the AoE slow thing. I forgot the Iceborne Fist, Iceborne Gauntlet. He's pretty much donezo. And again, Graves got a little bit too brave. Kled kills the Caitlyn, but yeah. Graves got a little bit too brave, and you saw, again, he basically tickled me. At this point, even if he were to full fist punch me in the dick, nothing would happen. I've got that really strong monk dick. Anyways, he eventually dies, and they, just for a little karmic sake, I'm the one who bites him in the face. But yeah, with Baron, and with us being super buff and pretty much itemized to a really proper level, they really can't do very much anymore. We go back to buy our last bits of items, and that's gonna pretty much seal the deal. Like I was saying earlier on, the new jungle is interesting. I mean, I know Riot's always been trying to curve the jungle power, and this kind of does, because it kind of forces the jungle to play in a more linear way and a kind of honestly more predictable way. So, if anything, it makes it more quote-unquote manageable. But we'll see. Somebody will find a way to make this a lot better. So, as I said earlier, give me your opinions in the new jungle in the comments below. And, just if you think Riot should still change some things, what they should change, and whatnot. This last team fight is just absolutely brutal. You know, we're too tanky, we're really strong, and, you know, we got them in a really good flank, so they just exploded. Or they didn't explode, they died slowly in a grinder, and, you know, with Baron buff still and an open lane, we easily take the Nexus. So, hooray for Trundle, hooray for the team, and I'm still curious about this new jungle. And if you liked this video, remember to give it a like. And if you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. And if you are subscribed, make sure to hit the little bell up there somewhere so you actually get notifications to my videos, because YouTube and stuff.